Welcome to the Double E Show. Bad strategy, horribly simulated. What's going on, everybody? Jibba73 back with the Double E Show. It's Lamplight City. Welcome back, everybody. So when we left off in the last episode, we had found out that the Mrs. Fordham is Mrs. Harris is cheating. Mr. Harris is gambling, and he owes a lot of money. So we now have two new layers of suspect that we can go see. Plus the Harris Construction Yard to talk to, most likely, the guy that wrote the note about making them pay. So we've got the lending office. We have Mrs. Davis's quarters. She was the woman sitting with the baby. And then, of course, the Harris residence. We're going to go to the lending office real quick. And just check out what's going on there.
Hello, sir. Welcome to LaFay Lenders. I'm the owner, Chester LaFay. Are you looking to take out a loan?
Not today, I'm afraid. I'm Miles Fordham, a private investigator.
Look, I don't know what you've heard, but I run a clean business here. I don't need any trouble.
And I'm not here to cause any, for the moment.
Just keep your nose where it belongs. We should get along fine.
Well, okay.
That's the latest model Computron. They don't come cheap. LaFay must be doing pretty well for himself.
Right?
Do you suppose LaFay turns the heat up to put some pressure on his clients?
Right?
Must be soothing for LaFay to be able to look at this landscape while he sits at his desk. A crew escaping a shipwreck on a violent sea. Not the most comforting painting to look at while waiting for a loan.
Right?
He actually has a degree in business from the University of New Bretagne? What a waste. LaFay with a woman and a small girl. I wouldn't have taken him for a family man.
Anything else? No, just the filing cabinet, which I won't,
Mr. LaFay, I'd like to ask you some questions.
Fine, but keep it brief.
Okay.
Tell me what you know about Malcolm Harris.
Mr. Harris. Took out a loan about a month ago. Still hasn't paid me back. In fact, he sent along a letter yesterday, saying he was having an emergency and needed more time. I probably should have refused to do business with him. As soon as he walked through the door, I could tell his type.
What type is that?
Upper class, bored with his life, trying to escape and doing it through vice. In his case, gambling.
This guy is good. Maybe you can pursue money lending if the whole private investigator thing doesn't work out.
But for some reason, I pitied him and decided to give him the loan anyway. Compassion isn't exactly an asset in this business, you see.
Nothing to worry about in your case, then.
Aside from that, I don't know anything about him. I prefer to keep how much I know about my clients to a minimum. Makes things easier for me.
Exactly how much did Mr. Harris borrow from you?
Is that relevant to your investigation?
It would help to have an idea of exactly how much he owes you, yes.
I don't feel comfortable telling you the exact amount, but I will say it was over 500 crowns.
A considerable sum.
Like I said, I probably shouldn't have done it, but I'll get the money back one way or another.
There you go.
Are you aware that Malcolm's son, Charles, was kidnapped last night?
I had no idea he even had a son. As I said, I don't ask my clients too many personal questions. Though now you've told me, I suppose that would explain the emergency he mentioned in his letter. Poor guy.
Okay.
What's your policy regarding people who don't pay their loans back?
There are a few options. For the first 3 months or so, I'll send them a letter reminding them. After that, I start to threaten them with legal action. You wouldn't believe some of the things people do to avoid paying back their loans. One client went so far as to fake his own death.
Do you ever employ any more unusual methods?
Now wait just a minute. I see where this is going. Mr. Fordham, I'm a family man myself. If you're implying that I would stoop to kidnapping someone's child as collateral...
I never said that, Mr. LaFay.
Look, I have a family to consider. I'm not about to go getting my hands dirty when there's plenty of legitimate ways to handle the situation.
Right. Okay.
Take a look at this piece of fabric. Does it look familiar to you?
Sure, it looks like it came from a jacket. In fact, yes, it's the same fabric as the jacket I'm wearing.
Would you mind if I took a look at your jacket?
Sure, not a problem. Here.
That it?
No tears in mine, huh?
Not a one. You clearly take good care of your clothing.
I don't mean to discourage you, Mr. Fordham, but I've seen a lot of people with this style of jacket. Hell, even Malcolm has one. I remember he was wearing it when he came in here.
I see. Thank you for the information, Mr. LaFay.
Okay, so Malcolm was wearing, yeah, he was wearing a jacket, just like it. Malcolm was wearing a jacket, just like it. Okay, so let's go back to the Harris residence. We'll bypass talking to them for the time being.
You don't suppose... How about that?
It matches the piece of torn fabric perfectly.
So, this means...
It could mean many things. The only thing that's certain is that a piece of this jacket ended up on the floor of the nursery.
Seems like something worth asking Mr. Harris about.
It does, doesn't it? Okay.
I have some questions for you, Mr. Harris.
Yes, of course.
Mr. Harris, do you recall the torn piece of fabric I found in the nursery?
Yes, what about it?
As it turns out, one of the jackets in your wardrobe has a tear exactly the same size and shape as this one. Would you care to tell me how that happened?
That can't be.
I'm afraid it is, so explain it.
I have no explanation. The truth is, I haven't worn that jacket in weeks. I've no idea how it was torn.
Are you suggesting someone else took your jacket and wore it when the child was taken?
I don't know. Perhaps someone is trying to make it look as though I... But that's absurd. Why would I kidnap my own son?
Why indeed, Mr. Harris.
You really think he kidnapped his own son, Miles?
Yes.
Seems more likely he was set up. But he also doesn't strike me as a terribly good parent. Maybe it would serve him right to be blamed for this.
I've got a theory.
We've done our part. The police can handle the search for the missing baby.
Those are all the questions I had for now.
All right.
Right on. Okay. I have a theory. Let's go back to our home.
I've managed to survive the wild streets of New Bretagne.
Seeing you come home always puts a smile on my face.
Right on. So my theory is that he kidnapped the child. He's going to ask his father for the ransom money. His father's going to give him the ransom money. He'll pay off his debt. Let's talk to Addie.
Addie?
What do you need, dear?
I'd forgotten how good you are at écarté. You absolutely destroyed me the other night.
As I recall, you used to hold your own pretty well.
We should have another match soon. That way I can hone my skills.
Yes, we should. As long as you can concentrate, I'm sure you'll get as good as you used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Addie, did you ever work with or meet a musician in Gascon named Roland?
Roland?
Yes, a piano player.
Oh, of course. That's gotta be Roland Devereaux. Yes, I know him. I'd just as soon never hear the name again, if I'm being honest.
That bad, huh?
He's just an arrogant little twerp. Completely full of himself, thinks he's God's gift to music. He really isn't very good. Misses notes like you wouldn't believe. Used to throw me off the few times I sang with him.
Well, he's a person of interest in my current case. Any idea where I can find him?
Last I heard, he was playing a regular gig at the Crimson Cat, but that was a few years ago. If he's not still there, they might know where he went.
Thanks, dear. That's incredibly helpful.
My pleasure.
Cool.
I can't believe the nerve of that narrow-minded old cow.
Who, Mrs. Delacroix? She's actually one of my nicest clients.
I don't know how you can tolerate her. If I were you, I'd strike her off my list.
If I did that for every one of my clients who thought the same as her, I'd be out of a job. That's just the way it is.
Maybe so, but it doesn't make it any less infuriating.
Right?
How are things going with you?
I'm a bit worried about some rumors I've been hearing.
Oh?
They're saying it won't be long before automated hairdressing devices are available to the public. Once that happens, it's going to be tough for me to keep getting jobs.
Automated hairdressing devices? How would those even work? Do they read your mind?
Doubtful. More than likely they'll have some kind of settings or just give everyone the same type of hairstyle.
I wouldn't worry too much, Addie. You're the best hairdresser in town. I doubt people will place their trust in some contraption over you.
You underestimate my clientele, Miles. They're mostly all rich socialites whose hobbies are buying the most expensive and modern things just to outdo their peers. They'll be sending their servants to line up for days before the things are released.
Perhaps, but they'll come running back to you once the machines stop working. You'll see.
I certainly hope so.
Okay.
I'll let you get back to your book.
All right, so the Crimson Cat. Crimson Cat. Okay, that's down near the coffee house. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's check out the Crimson Cat.
Ah, the Crimson Cat. One of my favorite underground clubs. Ooh, I spent some wild nights here. Which reminds me, I wonder if Stefan is still working the bar these days. This place has been around for quite some time. That well-dressed feline is Red, the official mascot.
Right.
Good old Bollingworth Ale. Unlike so many other things in life, it never lets you down. Well, not while you're drinking it anyway. The next morning is another story entirely. Attention customers. Use of Dr. Tennyson's vigor pills while under the influence of alcohol may cause loss of consciousness. It's nice to see this establishment looking out for its patrons.
Right.
Seagrave's Stasholine, high-quality mustache wax. You know, I always wondered what you'd look like with a mustache.
He'd look foolish.
Fine beer always served here. Good to know.
Right on.
Quite the selection. It rivals even the Angel. Looks like they've got Bollingworth, Millhopper, and Brooklyn Lager. Not a bad set of beers.
Right? All right, what else we got? We got a young man.
Looks like a view of Claremont Street with St. Denis Cathedral in the background. Call me old-fashioned, but I've always felt the piano should be played by an actual human. These automated ones just don't have any soul.
Right? Okay, let's talk to the young man, since he's the only one here we can.
Excuse me, are you Roland Devereaux?
Who's asking?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. I wanted to ask you some questions.
Sure, whatever you say.
Douche.
Are you acquainted with a woman named Miriam Harris?
Sure, acquainted. That's definitely a word you could use. But then, I'm also acquainted with about 20 other women in this borough alone.
Fascinating. Could you tell me about Miriam, please?
Sure, that woman could talk the ear off a cornstalk.
Oh? She said you didn't talk much.
That's right, I don't. She talks plenty for the both of us. Always going on about how sick she is of the phony high society types, how glad she is to be with someone real. But hey, she's loaded. And she's pretty good in bed, so it's a nice little thing we got going on.
Nice.
So, I take it you're a musician?
A musician? Am I a musician? Man, you insult me. Ask anyone who hears me tickle those ivories. They'll all tell you. I'm doing the Lord's work. I am more than just a mere musician. I have a purpose on this earth, and that is to move people, to bring joy to their souls.
And this is after you've set the piano back to manual, right?
I don't expect a layman like yourself to understand, least of all a private eye. Your job is exploiting people's misery. I don't know how you can even look at yourself.
Oh, it's fairly easy. But then I expect you've never gone more than 5 minutes without looking at yourself. Are you aware that Mrs. Harris's son was kidnapped last night?
What? Kidnapped?
Yes. Do you know anything about it?
No, not at all. I mean, I knew she had a son. She wouldn't shut up about him. Why would anyone take someone else's child voluntarily? Are people that desperate to have their own little brats?
I assume you're not a fan of children?
Let's just put it this way. I would rather have a hot poker shoved up my ass repeatedly than ever have to deal with a child.
Well, that's quite specific.
There is no way in hell I'm going to tie myself down and give up this great life of mine. If this lady's kid's been stolen, she'll probably leave her husband and want a replacement brat. I'm not gonna be that sucker, that's for sure. Thanks, friend. You've really opened my eyes. I think the time has come to exit stage left from Mrs. Harris's life.
You're a real piece of work, Roland.
Yeah, I know.
I think that's quite enough for now.
It's about time.
Yeah, what a complete and utter tool. All right, let's go to the casebook here. Handwritten note. LaFay's testimony. Common jacket. Malcolm Harris is now a suspect. Go back here. No, it was here. Handwritten note. No, not that one. Arthur Devons. Okay. So he's the one down at the shipyard. So let's go to the shipyard. Or not the shipyard, the construction yard. And we'll check this out. Murderers, it says.
And so we say to Harris and his cronies, no, we will not stand for this. Too many have died to allow this to continue. Steam tech must be stopped.
Well, someone certainly wasn't shy about making their opinion known. Rich people really do like making others aware of what's theirs, don't they?
The time has come to reject steam machines. They take our jobs, they take our families, they take our lives.
Elect Hart Leroy, the man of the people. I think that's preaching to the choir around here.
Pardon me, are you Arthur Devons by any chance?
Yes? Who are you?
Miles Fordham, private investigator. Could I ask you a few questions?
Guess so, yeah.
You recognize this letter, Mr. Devons?
How'd you get that? That wasn't meant for you.
I found it at the home of Mr. Malcolm Harris. He tells me you've been sending quite a few of these to his father.
Me and everyone else what had someone killed by that devil machine. I'm not the only one, you know.
Perhaps not, but he told me you were the most persistent. What have you got against the Harris family?
The family? Don't know nothing about the family. The only one I got a problem with is Clyde Harris, the one who owns this yard. He's just like all those other rich bastards with their heads in the clouds. The man don't care about the dead. He just wants to make as much money as he can. I'm just trying to make him realize how wrong he is.
Do you know anything about the kidnapping of Charles Harris?
Charles Harris? Who's that?
Clyde Harris's grandson.
I didn't even know he had a grandson. I can't believe someone with a grandkid, a family, would want more flying death in the air. How many more people have to die before someone realizes that steam machines are evil? People will kill their own mams for a crown these days.
That's bones and dust.
Mr. Harris told me you send a bag of chicken bones and dust along with your letters. Why is that?
Chicken bones? Dust? Nah, that's not right. I've only sent letters.
Are you certain of that?
Yes, as sure as I'm standing here.
Right. And I'm the queen. I get the feeling this guy will crack if we figure out what the significance of his little gift is.
Okay.
Why are you out here protesting?
Because what Harris Construction is doing ain't right. I lost my wife in the Ligeia crash, and I'm not the only one, neither. Hundreds of people were affected by that disaster, and now these bastards are making another airship. It's like a slap in the face to everyone who died. I just can't understand it.
What do you hope to accomplish by protesting?
Simple. We want construction of the Lenore stopped, and a full investigation into the Ligeia disaster. Not only that, we want compensation for our losses. Royal Maverick took care of all the families of those on board, but the families of the ones in the park didn't get a single copper. It just isn't fair. We aim to make things right. After that, it'll just be a matter of time before people realize that there's no future in steam tech, and they'll call the whole thing off.
Ah, the innocence of the downtrodden. I wish I could be as naive as them. It would have made my life a lot easier.
Okay.
Does this piece of fabric look familiar to you?
Looks like it came from some fancy jacket, the type you'd expect to see on the snobs in Leon. I could never afford clothes like that in a million years.
Do you recognize this button?
Can't say I do, but it looks handmade. I wonder how long it will be before the poor soul who crafted that button gets booted into the street and replaced with some steam-belching contraption.
You must have loved your wife very much.
Are you joking? I loved her more than there are stars in the sky. She was my whole world, Mr. Fordham, the light of my life. It's been nothing but cold and dark since she was killed. You're married, aren't you, Mr. Fordham? I see a ring on your finger.
I am, yes.
Then take my advice. Appreciate every moment you have with her. You never know when she'll be ripped out of your life, leaving you with nothing.
You know, this fellow was actually pretty wise. Maybe we misjudged him.
You seem very dedicated to your cause.
I'll take that as a compliment, Mr. Fordham.
There's quite a lot of people who are against steam tech, aren't there?
Yes, the movement is gaining ground and growing rapidly, I'm pleased to say.
I've heard stories about some more extreme members. Do you know anything about that?
You mean the Redites? Sure, I've heard of them. Even met a few. But if you think I'm telling you anything else beyond that, you're sorely mistaken.
Are you a member of the Redites, Mr. Devons?
No, I prefer more peaceful methods of making my voice heard. Now, if you don't mind, I think we should drop the subject.
Good day to you, Mr. Devons.
You too, Mr. Fordham.
Right on. Okay. So let's go to casebook here. Handwritten note. Got that. Common jacket. Nope. Where is it? Malcolm Harris. No. Where was it? Loose button. No. More time to alone. Common jacket. According to Chester LaFay, the style of jacket from which the torn fabric comes from is extremely common. Even Mr. Harris owns one. Okay, we got that. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Return to the Upton to accuse Malcolm Harris? No. Find out the significance of Arthur Devon's gift. And we still need to figure out what SS is. And we still need to speak with Mrs. Davis, the Harris's nanny. And we should do that next week. So, if you like what you're watching, hit that like and subscribe button down below. Tell your family, tell your friends. If you have any suggestions, put them in the comments below. No spoilers. And I will read them. And with that, I will catch you next Monday for another episode of Lamplight City. Peace. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more, check out the playlist above, or watch what YouTube tells you to on the right. Oh yeah, and subscribe.